Yeah, good morning, all of you. So again, once again, I welcome all of you to one more class for modern manufacturing methods. Okay, so what exactly we discussed in the last lecture is, so what is exactly a manufacturing, then what is the conventional manufacturing, and what is the non-conventional or non-traditional manufacturing processes. So we have clearly mentioned, clearly discussed about the different types of conventional process like turning, broaching, milling, etc. Now, after that, what are the merits or the disadvantages of what you call as the conventional process? We have discussed. Then I started what is the non-traditional machining process and how non-traditional machining process nowadays are playing a very important role. They playing a very important role in manufacturing industries. Okay, and what are the merits? And I'll show you some examples. Okay. So all the things what we already covered. Now for today's class, I'll be starting exclusively about non-traditional machining process and what are the different types of process and classification of different types of non-traditional machining process. Then we'll go for maybe a second hour. I'll go for the one more very important topic nowadays, very popular, that is your rapid prototyping, or it's a 3D printing technique, right? So let me just start the presentation. Now, when you just see this particular slide here, this is basically a slide which indicates the material removal processes. So machining is nothing but a process of removing material. Now the material removal processes I can divide into two types. One is called as a traditional machining or conventional machining process. The second one is non-traditional machining or non-conventional machining process. So, okay. Now, when you come for traditional machining process, again, it can be classified into two types. One is cutting, another is mechanical abrasion. Okay. So, cutting, I can do a cutting job, depends upon the shapes. So, suppose it's a circular shapes or rods, then I can go for turning, boring, drilling. All these things are the machining processes. Okay, so which actually our piece will be like a circular. Suppose assume the other than circular, whatever the shape may be, I can just machine it by means of different processes like milling, right? We're using a milling cutter, planing, shaping, broaching, sawing, filing, gear forming, and gear generating. So all these things are different machining processes for shapes other than circular shape. Then we have in traditional machining one more section which is called as a mechanical abrasion. So mechanical abrasion in the sense, example, all of you might have seen this grinding wheel as well as the grinding process. Okay, so how the material is being removed there. Now what you will do normally, whatever the workpiece you want to remove the material, you'll be that particular grinding wheel is rotating and you are just pressing that workpiece towards the grinding wheel, and you have seen the grinding wheel, it has a lot of what you call as a rough section which is called as abrasive. Small abrasives are nothing but a cut sections which actually removes the material. Now that particular process is called as mechanical abrasion. So using mechanical abrasion process, there are two things. One is a bonded abrasive like your grinding wheel, where the entire wheel is bonded with the abrasive particles. Then you have something loose abrasives. Okay, so by means of which also I can remove the material. So bonded abrasives you have grinding, honing, as well as coated abrasives. I can use all these things as a bonded abrasive uh, method where I can remove the material. Then loose abrasives like polishing. So once you grind it, I want a final finishing or buffing. Both the things are like a final finishing methods or super finishing methods using a very loose objective abrasives, where abrasives are very, very fine here, and here it's like a coarse structure. Okay. So this is about your classification of a material removal process under traditional machining. Now, if you go for the non-traditional machining, which is our basic subject now, what we are going to discuss the entire semester, those are nothing but a non-traditional machining process, and these are some of the non-traditional machining process. CHM, chemical milling, electrochemical machining, that's a ECM, electrochemical grinding, that's a ECG, electro discharge machining, laser beam machining, LBM, AJM, abrasive jet machining, WJM is water jet machining, and plasma beam machining is PBM, and ultrasonic machining, that indicates what is nothing but ultrasonic machining is. So all these processes comes under your non-traditional machining process. So this is about your basic classification of material removal processes. Now, if I go for the classification of what you called as yeah, non-traditional machining process. So based upon the nature of energy used for material removal. So normally, as I said, there won't be any cutting tool or sharp cutting tool like what we observe in a traditional machining process available here. So I must have some sort of energy to remove the material from the workpiece. Okay, so that's why it's classified according to the nature of energy used for material removal process. So first one, suppose if I use a mechanical energy for the material removal process, so you have the classification as abrasive jet machining, AJM, ultrasonic machining, USM, then you have water jet machining, WJM, and you have something abrasive water jet machining. So all these things, four processes here, which actually uses a mechanical energy for removing the material from the workpiece. Okay. Now, if you go for the second classification, it is electrochemical process. So, what is electrochemical process? Now, as the name indicates here, you have electrons energy, electron energy, or electrical energy plus chemical energy. So that's called as electrochemical process. So using that electrochemical energy, I will be concentrating on to remove the material from the workpiece. So what are the classification under electrochemical process? You have electrochemical machining, then you have electrochemical grinding, then electrochemical honing, then electrochemical deburring. Okay, so each and everything we'll be discussing in the coming classes. Okay, so this is basically your electrochemical processes. Then instead of electrochemical process, if I have an arrangement where I'll be using the electrical energy and the material is being removed by thermal process. That is the some sort of heat available to remove the material or to remove the excess material from the workpiece. So the classification for electrothermal processes are electro discharge machining, that is EDM, very popular one. Then you have laser jet machining. So you'll be going to machine using a laser beam here. So laser jet machining. Then you have electron beam. So laser beam is replaced by some electron beam and you are going to machine the workpiece. That's why it's called as electron beam machining. So these three comes under electrothermal processes. Then you have a chemical process, that is previous one you have electrochemical process. It's a pure chemical process because of the chemical reaction or chemical energy given. So you are going to remove some sort of a material. So that's called as a chemical milling process, CHM. Then you have photochemical milling, that's a PCM. Okay, so all these things are nothing but the classification of your non-traditional machining process, and we have to study about the important parameters in the coming classes, that is each and every process, how it works, what are the basic arrangement to carry out the machining process, what is the tool used, and how much is the material removal rate, which is very popular. It's called as MRR. So material removal rate is a very important one. and we have to consider that one, because whatever the machining I am doing here, we have to we are achieving to get the finish our final product, and have to remove the material. And okay, and how fast it's going to remove, that depends upon the machining process. Okay, that's why it's called it's a material removal rate is a important parameter to study in all these processes. Okay, so hope you understood what is the classification, right? Then, as I already shown this slide for you, this how it looks like as a schematic or diagram here. Okay, the first one is your ultrasonic machining process. So we will be discussing in detail afterwards. Then you have electronic beam machining. Okay, so let me just now you see here. So you have the workpiece here. You see that bottommost portion here. It's a workpiece. Obviously, this is the tool. This is the tool, and using the ultrasonic energy, you'll be machining this. Okay, so that's why it's called as ultrasonic machining. Now, if you go for this particular diagram here, what I'm showing by means of a highlighter. So this is the electronic beam, and this is the basic workpiece what you are seeing here. Okay, the orange color one. So obviously, I am using electronic beam to machine. It's why called as electronic beam machining. And this particular diagram indicates electrical discharge machining. Electrical discharge machining. Now you see that you have an arrangement where I can have electrical energy, and using that I am going to machine the workpiece production here. Okay. Then similarly, you have electrochemical machining. Okay, as I said, electrochemical milling, electrochemical grinding, all these processes comes under electrochemical machining process. Then you have water jet. So there is an arrangement where the water jet is given, and this is because of the high pressure or water jet, you will be getting a machining process or material removal. That's why it's called as water jet machining. Similarly, you have abrasive jet machining. So some sort of abrasive particles will be uh, flowed, I mean, sent to the what you call as a workpiece here. And because of that, I will be getting a machining process. So that's why it's called as abrasive jet machining. Okay, so we'll be discussing this in detail in the coming slides. Now, how to select a correct process or correct non-traditional machining process? I think for all the non-traditional machining process are not suitable for all materials. Okay, so it depends upon the materials. Based upon that, I have to choose the particular non-traditional machining process. Okay, that's what I have given. And this table is very interesting. Suppose the material is like your ceramics, plastics, and glass. Obviously, you know that ceramic is a hard material. A plastic, if you take a thermoset plastic, it's a very hard, and glass. So all these things can't be machined by using a conventional machining process. Then I have to go for a non-traditional machining process. So most of the time, the ceramics, plastics, and glass will be using a method called as ultrasonic machining, abrasive jet machining, electronic beam machining, and laser beam machining. All these four processes can be used to machine this type of materials. Then you have refractories. So refractories are nothing but the thing which is actually used. If you have a furnace wall, the outside layer of the furnace wall will be made up of bricks. Okay, the bricks are very strong section. Okay, so suppose I assume that in the refractory I have to have some machining process. Okay, so that refractories I have to use some sort of non-traditional machining process, that is I can use go for ultrasonic machining, AJM, abrasive jet machining, electro discharge machining, and electron beam machining. So all these things process I can go for refractories. Similarly, the titanium is a very hard material, so I can go for so only EDM. I can't go for other processes. Similarly, super alloys, I can go for abrasive jet machining, electrochemical machining, electro discharge machining, and plasma arc machining. Okay, right? Similarly, a steel, a hard steel, if you just assume, so electrochemical machining, chemical milling, electrodischarge machining, and plasma machining. So all these things are the different non-traditional process, or a particular process can be used for a particular material. Okay. Now, this particular table gives you, that is the geometry, how much diameter I can go using a particular process. Okay, right? So this is, if you just see the geometric feature, so suppose I required a very small hole of diameter less than 0.125 mm, that is a 0.005 inches. In some cases, generally smaller than the diameter range of conventional drill bits. You have seen the drill bits are very a small diameter. So 0.125 mm is a very small diameter. So in that particular thing, I have to I have to make a hole of that diameter. So definitely I have to go for some sort of a non-traditional machining process, because I can't use a conventional drill by holding in a drilling machine, etc., to drill a hole of 0.125 mm. Okay, so that's keep in mind. So obviously for this I can go for electron beam machining and laser beam machining. Suppose I have a d by d ratio, that is a depth to diameter ratio. So depth of the hole as well as the diameter of the hole. So that ratio, if it's more than 20, example, you have gun barrel holes as well as that can't be machined by conventional drilling operation, I have to go for electrochemical machining or electro discharge machining process. Okay, so suppose non-round holes, because these are round holes, assume that I can do uniform holes. Suppose I have a hole like a tapered hole, non-round hole, which not at all possible by a drill bit. I have to go for the process only electrochemical machining process or milling process or electro discharge machining process. And you have assumed that you have narrow slots in slabs and plates of various materials. The slots are not necessarily straight. In that particular cases, I can go for electron beam machining, laser beam machining, water jet machining, actually wire electric machining, and abrasive water jet machining. Okay, so these are the things what I can use for this particular holes or geometries. Okay, now I have something called as a micro machining. That is, in addition to cutting small holes, I can go for a narrow slits. It's a small cuttings. They are nothing but I can go for that small slits that I can do it by PCM as well as LBM and EBM. Okay, and you have assumed that you have shallow pockets. Okay, so that in that case, like your IC chips, integrated circuit chips, to the large aircraft panels. So all these things I can go for chemical machining process, because the material removal is very small and the parts are very intricate inside. Okay, so in that cases definitely I have to go for electro discharge machining or non-traditional machining process. And finally, you have special contoured shapes for mold die application. So you have seen the yesterday's video. So what is the die? What is the mold? All those things. So die, if I want to make, so because I have required a part, uh, so obviously I have to make a shape in the die. Obviously, you must use some sort of a process where the die can produce your required part. So in that cases, the applications are, so you can make it on the die that particular shape using a discharge machining or electrochemical machining process. Okay, so these are the considerations what you have to suppose these are the considerations required. Suppose for this particular application, and this is the particular process I can adopt for machining. Okay, right? So that's about your the thing what we discussed is the classification of non-traditional machining process, as well as then you have something called as what how to choose a particular non-traditional machining process for some particular application. Then depends upon the geometry, suppose gun holes, gun barrel holes, etc., and how to choose a particular thing I can find out. Okay, now this particular topic, next topic is very important. As I said, nowadays everybody is concentrating upon this, so which is called as a rapid prototyping or prototyping. Okay, so 3D printing is example for a rapid prototyping technique. Rapid prototyping technique. Okay, so let me just start in this particular lecture. Okay, so then I'll continue maybe in the next class also. Okay. Now, what is rapid prototyping? Now, we know that one of the important steps prior to the production of any product is building a physical prototype. Okay, so first you are going to build, suppose I have given the example of a car or any product. You have multiple small parts which actually assemble, which makes the major product. So I must need some sort of a physical prototype. Okay, also prototype is nothing but a working model created in order to test various aspects of design, illustrate ideas or features, and gather early user feedback. So, what is a prototype? So, what is the advantage of creating a prototype? It's a working model. Okay. So, first I'll create this model and I'll test it. Yeah, it's okay. Means then the same thing can be adapted to create the products in the mass production. Okay. So, what is the advantage of creating a prototype here is, so I can test, I can see, assume that that particular prototype, what I'm creating, I can test it for the stresses, residual stresses, loads, okay, and everything. I can experiment on the prototype because if in something happens, if model fails, I can go for one more model which is less costlier compared to the part. Once I fix in the actual product, I can't test it because what happens, it is a very very costly process. Moreover, whatever the thing, first I will model it and I can check this stress analysis in the packages, software packages available, like your ANSYS, then you have something like a Fluent, like so different software packages are available where I can analyze the stresses, etc. in a prototype. Okay, so for that case, the prototype is a very important one, and I can make a prototype. I can test the prototype, I can give the results, and if the results are satisfactory, I can go for the mass production. Okay, so that's the working model created in auto test. Various aspects like design, you can check. I can check the, suppose assume that there is small correction needed. I can correct it because it's a model, and by getting the feedback from the customers, so no, no, this will be not be like that. I have to be make the product little bit different. Then I can do it easily because it's a model created. I can modify the model easily compared to the actual. Okay. Now traditional prototyping is typically done. So normally what happens, if you want to make a product, assume that I don't have idea about the non-traditional machining process. Then I mean earlier days, they'll be going for a traditional prototyping process, like example nothing but you're just manufacturing a part using a lathe or milling machine. Okay, now that lathe or milling machine, you are getting a product or model or prototype is a subtractive process. That is, you will be begin with a solid piece of stock, that is you'll be taking some raw material, and the machinist must be, suppose very slender parts or very complicated parts or very thin parts you are going to machine, so you must need a very what you call as a machinist with high skill. Okay, or good skill available, then only he will make that model also a very good one. So that depends upon that, I can go for the increase in production, and carefully he has to remove the material until the desired geometry is achieved, so that everything is carried out either milling or yes or lathe process. Okay, now this is very simple part, it's okay. Now assume that it's a very complex geometry I have to machine, then obviously the lathe and milling machine is not at all the right choice, because it will be an exhaustive process and obviously the time consuming process. Assume I want to correct it again, I have to start from the scratch and I have to uh, machine it again, and obviously a very expensive process, because you don't have CAD models, all those things where I can change it and finally I get the product. So once it something happens that has to be thrown out, again I have to start from the scratch, and I'll be just have to continue for to machine it to get the product. Okay. Now, with all these disadvantages available, okay, using the conventional machining process, okay, then I'll be going for a prototype or a model to be uh, done by using a rapid prototyping technique. So this is a new shaping technique, usually which is called as a rapid prototyping, which is being developed as an alternative to the subtractive process. So subtractive process already I have explained, nothing but your machining, what you call as milling, etc. All these processes are your subtractive process, and instead of going for the machining, I'll be go for a new technique which is called as a rapid prototyping. Okay, and rapid prototyping and the methods under the rapid prototyping are very unique, and they add and bond materials in layers to form the objects. Now, what happens in case of your rapid prototyping? Any what you call as a prototype or model is being produced by like a layer by layer. Okay, I'll tell you, I'll just show you everything how this particular rapid prototyping and how the 3D printing goes. Okay, so that's the layer by layer you'll be using, and you bond that entire layers, and finally you'll get an object. Okay, so the rapid prototyping, these systems, the system of rapid prototyping can also be called as additive fabrication, three-dimensional printing, solid freeform fabrication, layered manufacturing. So these are rapid prototyping systems can also be called as additive fabrication, three-dimensional printing, and solid free-form fabrication, layered manufacturing. Okay, so this is about your introduction about your rapid prototyping. Okay, so I'll just take some 10 minutes break. Okay, now we will continue after this, right? So just take now it's 10:06. So just all of you join by 10:30 so that we will continue the second hour. Okay, thank you.